Hi there. Okay, this is going to be video number 77. Alright, but it's going to be video number 39 of module 3. And this time we're going to be talking about the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. Now I've marked some points out on the chart for you already. Okay, and I want to show you something that's pretty simple. I could probably explain this strategy in about 30 seconds. Alright, but I want to give you a little bit more info into it as well. Okay, so, but basically for this short part, alright, we need to find an area in the market for this imacd first of all. Okay, and I'm looking to see where this green line penetrates the red line, and I can see one right there. Okay, and I'm using this horizontal vertical line tool right here, and I'm also drawing that line in twice because I want to allow for that one bar to its left or one bar to its right allowance, because it don't always line up. So my first thing and my first goal was to really line this up as close as I can to that particular crossover, and then I'm looking at this bar as well, and I want to make sure that this second bar falls in with my rule that I've made, that it hits the 50 and the RSI line is above 50. Okay, now same for the short signal. So this would have been okay to taken. This one would not have been okay because the RSI is below 50. Alright, this one I would not have taken because again the RSI is below 50. Alright, here's another short trade. I would not have taken that because the RSI is above 50. Alright, here is a long trade that I would have taken because the RSI, although the first bar, that first line that we drew here, did not actually have that bar go above 50, the second one did, and I allowed it for the reason why the second bar is in there as well is to have that one bar confirmation. Alright, that one bar confirmation. So you see that full bar that gets created, and then you go in on the next bar after it's been confirmed. So this would be like your first point, this would be your second bar, waiting for that confirmation to finish and then go in on the next bar. Alright, this one will have worked out nice as well. This has been the bar that you need to wait for the confirmation, go in on the next bar, and that does go up. I'm not sure how much that goes up, but it goes up a fair bit. That's 1.3379, and this goes up to around about 1.3750 or something like that. So it's around about 400 pip gain there over a period of about a week. This one here goes up, exceedingly high, to about 140. And it started down at around about 128 area, so it's like 1200 pips there over a period of like 2-3 weeks. Alright, so yeah, keep moving over and we can see that these signals are quite strong actually. Well, again, this is a buy trade, but the RSI doesn't go above 50, so that's no good. Alright, here is a sell trade, but it doesn't really fall below the 50 line, so that's no good. Here is a sell signal right here. The RSI falls below 50, so that's good. We can go short on that one. And that's as far as examples that I've done on there. So, but let's go back and use the smaller time frames and see if they work as well. I've got an easier way to do this actually. Go to the object list, highlight that, and just keep on pressing delete. There we go. Alright, so let's try a smaller time frame. Let's go to a 4-hour time frame and apply these same rules in there again. So again, I'm looking for the point at where they cross over, and then I'm allowing for one margin of room of error, or a little bit of leniency in there. And then I'm looking for this short trade. I'm looking for this RSI to come below the 50 line, but it hasn't, so it's no good. Alright, let's keep going and take a look. Now this area here, I mean, I don't really like taking this after a big long trade, so this is going to be some exceptions to the rule. When you see these here, you can see that it is above 50. Alright, now after you've seen a move that's already taken from a low and it starts to go up, I don't really like to take those because you might be at a final Elliott wave or what have you, or it could come back and go back the other way. So I'd prefer to get in at the beginnings and the tops of trends, alright, which is what you should be really be focusing on as well. Alright, and so I don't really like to take those kind of trades, and also I prefer to see it come from the top and then coming down before me taking on a sell trade, and if I'm taking on a buy trade, I'd rather see the RSI come from below and then approach and penetrate into that 50 zone. Alright, so here is another buy trade opportunity, but the opportunity is not there for us because it doesn't meet our criteria, it doesn't hit the 50. Alright, we can keep on going until we're like kind of get bored with it. And this one is kind of like an exception. This one would have worked out okay. The second line actually hits that, so then you'd wait for this bar here and you'll still see it on the 50. You might want to wait, you might go in that, you probably would have been a 50-50. This trade could have gone back the other way, but in this particular example it did work out in our favor. Here is another one. This is a buy trade. Now this didn't essentially come from below in such a dramatic way, like from below below the 30 zone. This was more or less hovering along the lines of 50, but essentially for the most part there was downward sentiment in this particular currency pair up to that point. Okay, but we can see now that these two lines ring through true, and we're above 50 there as well. There's our first bar. Then we wait for the confirmation to finish, and then we get in here, which is kind of nice because it sits right on a resistance level / support, and boom, up it goes towards like the next areas of target. Alright, let's see if this works on the 1 hour time frame. I would say most of these strategies do work quite well on the smaller time frames, but it's all really dependent on you if you want to go for those like 10 pip, 15 pip trades. Okay, I prefer not to because it just burns me out after a while. Alright, so let's go down to the 1 hour. We are down to the 1 hour. Okay, let's see if this strategy works well. Alright, so there's our first line, and also it's at the 50 line as well. Okay, so we've just come from above and it's went down to below a little bit, so this might not need to think too much into that. The other strategy was on the 4 hour, but let's see how it works out anyway. Then on the next bar, go long, and there is your support and resistance line. So you might want to wait until that line's broken and then go long. Let's look for some sell trades. That's no good because the 50 is not below. And here is one here. Now this might not look like a buy trade, so we use our little lenience line in there as well, and that second line does hit the 50 and then up it goes. Alright, let's take this short trade. That's not, because the 50 is not, it's not below the 50 line, so that's not going to be any good. There's another line right here. It's a buy trade opportunity, but it didn't come from below and then up towards the top. Okay, fair enough, it did go up higher, but you will find that if you try to do that all the time, it won't always work out. Alright, I'm looking for areas in the market where I can actually filter out any potential losses, and that's no good. Here is a sell trade right here. This is again where we have to sort of can't fit it inside, so we get another line in, and we can see it comes below 50. It's a crossover coming on the way down. We're going on the next bar. Alright, fair enough, it takes quite a few hours before it makes any significant move on the way down, but when you see that you're waiting for quite some time, don't let your emotions take control of you. Alright, be patient, and as long as you're seeing that this imacd is coming below the histogram and you're in a downwards trend, just keep it. Don't really be too panicky. The only time that you want to be panicky is when you start seeing this MACD line going above. Alright, so like if you was in this situation and it was coming down, you want to start getting a little bit panicky when it goes and rises above, because you want to sort of get ready, prepare to get out of there, or get prepared when it crosses here as well, or even be prepared when you see the RSI come back towards the 50 level and go back up the other way. We can see that if we got in, I mean, again, this isn't a perfect rule all the time, but it is some nice guidance to use when you're in trades and you're not sure when to get out, or when the the trend is going to change. Obviously you can use the ADX, or you can use the stochastic oscillator or what have you, but the RSI also does a good job. But it's just with the RSI indicator, it's, you know, it shouldn't always really use it on its own. But you can see that where we've gone from 50 to below 50, and eventually it's coming back to hit the 50 mark again, and at a pretty good opportune time to get out and clock all of that up. So we didn't need to, you know, act, you know, on our emotions, being scared, you know, not knowing what the future holds, because that's why we do become nervous, you know, a little bit hesitant, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So if you can try and put that little bit of emotional, you know, setback to one side, because we all have it, it's just learning how to, you know, push it away, and, you know, and just focus on our stronger points. All right, and then we should be okay for the rest of the you know, the trade that you have open. All right, so give that a try, see how you get on. All right, I think we have one more video to cover. All right, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.